How you doing, everyone? Greetings and welcome back to the basement. So what I'd like to share with you today is a little bit of progress that I've made with this super shooty aliens game over the course of the last fortnight. And last time I was speaking to you, I had shown you some of the progress I made, and I managed to get things like a little shield bar that went from red to yellow to, no, from green to yellow to red, and then kind of gave you a game over type thing that you see here flashing on the screen. And I also managed to put in a scoreboard plus a little pause feature to let you go away and make a cup of tea or whatever, but it also kind of doubled as kind of show you some of the game stats as well. When you paused, it would tell you how many missiles you fired and how many aliens you had defeated. Now there was one or two things that I wanted to do in the meantime. I was quite happy with this game overy thing and the way that we still have action going on in the background. Starfield is still scrolling, aliens are still appearing and they're shooting down and whatnot. And that gave me the idea that maybe it would be a nice idea to, as the game is being played and whatever, we could actually display stuff on screen. So kind of text to let us know what's going on in the game, what our next objectives are and stuff like that. So I said what I'd do was I would try and implement the entire alphabet into the code and write a little script that would kind of let me display the text anywhere I wanted on screen and in any color I wanted to do it. And I kind of managed to do that, and I can show you there real quick. I've got, you see this game over here? This guy up here? This is the game over you actually see written on screen here. This is where you would type in whatever you want to be displayed and it will be displayed. So what I've done is I've made 4 little lines of text here, and what I've put in them is I am words from letters in any color I need to be. Not that that makes much sense, but that's the text that will be displayed on screen just to show that we can kind of put it anywhere we want in any color we want. And then what I do is I just set up the way I want that text displayed. So what I do is I set a color for it, I give it a screen address where I want it to start, and then I send it off to a little display text routine that'll display that text on screen. And this here is our display text routine. So it will pretty much determine what ASCII characters are being used in the line of text that I want displayed, and then it will go off and look and see what sprites I've made that correspond to those ASCII codes and display them on screen. So here we've got our print text where it's looking to see what the ASCII code is. If it's code 65, it'll display an A. If it's 66, it'll display a B. If it's 67, it'll display a C. And down here lower, I've got the actual bitmaps for the text, or for each of the letters more or less, that will be displayed on screen, because each of the letters is more or less a sprite. And I can show you kind of as we're playing the game that text on screen. There we go. It says, if I make it big you'll see it better, it says I am words, what did I put? I am words from letters in any color I need to be. And again we've got those aliens kind of getting destroyed when they hit colors sometimes because of the collision detection thing, but it doesn't slow down the game very much having text displayed on screen, and it seems to be working fairly well. I can clear it off screen again, and you know, I can put any text I want up whenever I want and take it off, so that's excellent. That works exactly as I wanted it to work. So I managed to do that. The other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to implement a boss. So to put an end boss on screen for level 3, because I had level 1 where you're at the bottom of the screen and you're shooting aliens, and then level 2 would be either going from the left or the right of the screen and kind of firing horizontally at aliens. And level 3 was going to be an end boss, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. So that was a kind of a daunting one, but I think I managed to figure out some of it. I'll show you here. So I've got my end boss on screen here as he is. Yeah, we've got the end boss here, and he's made up of what I call megapixels. These big squares here, and I'll explain that to you in a little minute. But basically what's going to happen is we're going to have the boss that looks like this on screen, and he can kind of move any speed I want him to move and in any way I want him to move around the screen. What he's doing there right now is just to see that he works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little fleet of aliens going around him. It'll be like a little force field that goes around him. Maybe not around, maybe square, it'd be easier. But going around him anyway, that'll be constantly replenished. And we'll have to shoot at that. No mind, these bullets won't go through him like they are and cause that kind of glitchiness. But we will have to shoot those, because what's going to happen is the end pixels here that make up his antennas, the end of his antennas, his hands, and also the tips of his feet, they will randomly, one of those will change colour. And what you will have to do is shoot through the shield in order to shoot that random coloured pixel. And if you manage to do that, what will happen is he will open himself up like this to expose his central core. And what you will have to do is shoot his central core a number of times in order to kind of weaken him and eventually destroy him. But of course, he'll only remain open for a short time, and then he'll close again, and you'll have to go through the whole thing again. So I think that's what's going to be going on. Now, in order to provide more of a challenge, the shield that will be going around him will be spraying bullets to the right, to the left, and down the way as well. So you'll be trying to dodge those while shooting through the shield going around him to hit the coloured megapixel, more or less, to make him open up and try and shoot the central core before he closes back again. More or less, that's it. And eventually he will explode, like something like that. I don't know. But yeah. So just to tell you about the boss and how he's made up. So let me go back here and I'll try and explain to you. You see, on these levels here, we've got like level 1 with all these aliens, individual aliens that appear on screen and fly around. And they're all like little individuals because they're all moving in different directions. This boss is made in exactly the same way as a fleet of these guys are made, because what we're looking at here is we are looking at each of these megapixels, as I call it, is kind of a bitmap or a sprite. And it's behaving in exactly the same way as these individual aliens are. So there's like 37 or 38 of these big squares that make up this boss. And I've constructed a table that works in exactly the same way as the table for these aliens work. Because each of these aliens has a portion of 4 bytes that records what its position is on screen. There's 2 bytes that do that, store the screen address where it is. There is a byte that kind of tells it what direction it's going to be moving in, if it's going to move up, down, left or right or diagonally. And there is another byte that deals with missiles. Now the same thing is going on for this guy here, only we have a larger table. And each of these large squares is an individual. The only difference is it's kind of working like a formation of airplanes would when they're kind of making a triangular formation or anything like that. They're flying in unison. So they're all positioned and then they're moving relative to each other to give this kind of impression of a large boss sprite. And that's why I can make him open up and close up so easily, because I've got these individual sprites, more or less, have a byte in their table that's telling them what part of a team they belong to. And I have 5 teams here. There's like team 0 in the middle, who doesn't move at all when a set of conditions is met. And then there's team 1, 2, 3 and 4 who move diagonal, up right, down left and up left type things, depending. And that's how we get them to open and close. But you will notice that he is very, very, very flickery. And that's a little bit of a problem. I mean, I'm sure the other aliens here moving around, they're flickery too, but we don't really notice it all that much. However, with this guy, we do. And there is a way, I believe, of solving that. But yeah, it's a technique called double buffering. Whereas more or less what you do is you have 2 screen buffers. So you would have the screen you're looking at and the screen you are drawing to, and you kind of switch between them. So you'd have one screen behind that you're drawing to while you're showing what you've previously drawn. And once you've finished drawing to the screen behind, you'd flip around, you blank the screen you were shown and draw to that. And you'd never actually see any of the drawing process, which is what kind of makes the flicker in here. Thing is, I would need to find 6 kilobytes of memory free on the CoCo in order to have a second screen buffer. And the way I have the game kind of set up at the moment, with the boss in and all the rest, I'm kind of hitting the limit on memory. I think I've got 2k left to me as it stands. Now, there are these title screens, and I've got this Super Shooty Aliens one, which has actually taken up an entire screen buffer just to show that. So if I eliminated that, problem solved. I've got this guy here, which I actually managed to reduce, because what I did was, you'll notice all the sides here are all kind of blank pixels. So what I did was, the image I had, I opened it in GIMP, and I kind of selected just the image itself, and then I kind of managed to reduce it, so I freed up some memory. But what I need to do is I need to try and somehow shrink this and this, so that I can free up enough memory to give me a screen buffer plus a little bit to write the extra code I need in order to make this last level, and a few little textual bits I want to put in and work. So yeah, it's something I didn't want to, I'll be honest, it's something I didn't want to get into until I wanted to write this game, and then I was going to look at stack blasting and double buffering as kind of a next project. But if I want this boss to look some way reasonable, I'm going to have to kind of dig into double buffering straight away. Now, the only thing I can say is that I've been in contact with Dave from CoCo Town, and the guy is tremendous help. And he sent me a very large message explaining what double buffering is and how it works, more or less. And he also sent me reams and reams of test code that he had that kind of shows double buffering in effect. So I've got quite a bit of studying and whatnot to do in order to get this working. And there was a comment, I can't remember what the viewer's name was, but there was a comment that I was left that spoke about runtime encryption or runtime coding or something that would actually compress these title screens for me. And that's something I'm going to look into, and I should be able to compress these images so that they take up only a fraction of the space they're actually taking, because at the moment, even after compressing this one, these two images are still taking up kind of 10k. So if I could free up even half of that, more or less, I should be fairly alright for double buffering, I hope anyway. So for the next time when I'm speaking to you, hopefully I'll be after compressing these images, maybe, and I'll be after freeing up enough space to kind of get this boss kind of going some kind of way. If not, I'll carry on anyway. I'll get this boss level finished. I'll see about tying stuff together and whatnot. I really don't want to have to drop either of these title screens. I know this one's a little bit crap, but it's still, I like that one. I like that little one. But I would, yeah, that's pretty much it. I need to see if I can compress these and free up some memory, finish the boss level, and start knitting everything together in order to kind of make it into a game, a linear game that progresses. That's pretty much it. That is the progress I have made so far. There's sound in the game too. It didn't come through very good last time. Can you hear that? Maybe, I don't know if it's coming through this time. But there is sound in the game a bit too. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Talk to you soon.